Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover your phone won't turn on. That your electric car is a 2-ton brick. That hospitals are canceling surgeries because their medical equipment stopped working. That ATMs are dead. That planes can't take off. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a power outage. This is something much worse. It's the collapse of advanced semiconductor supply. And all because an island the size of Belgium, located 180 kilometers from mainland China, ceased to exist as we know it. Taiwan. TSMC. The most dangerous monopoly on the planet. Welcome to the Silicon Shield. The same shield that's about to break. And when it does, it will drag down digital civilization as you know it. The numbers don't lie. And these numbers should terrify you. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, known as TSMC, manufactures 92% of all advanced semiconductor chips in the world. 90%. Apple depends on TSMC for every iPhone you sell. Nvidia, the most valuable artificial intelligence company on the planet, manufactures its processors there. AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom, even United States defense systems, all depend on TSMC factories in Hsinchu and Tainan. But here's the detail that changes everything. 90% of TSMC's production happens in Taiwan itself. Not in the United States. Not in Europe. Not globally distributed as a sensible security measure. Everything is concentrated on an island that China considers part of its territory. An island that Xi Jinping has publicly declared must reunify with China. An island that the United States has sworn to defend, though not officially. In October 2024, TSMC President C.C. Wei revealed something at a private investor conference that leaked to Bloomberg. The company has an irreversible contingency plan in case of Chinese invasion. What does that mean? It means self-destruction. It means that if China crosses the strait, TSMC will activate protocols to disable its own factories, so that nobody has them. So, the obvious question is, how the hell did we get here? How is it possible that all modern technological civilization depends on an island in a war zone? Who thought it was a good idea to put all the eggs in the same basket? And that basket is floating in disputed waters? And yes, I know it sounds like a Tom Clancy movie script. The Silicon Shield even has a geopolitical thriller title. But the difference is this isn't fiction. It's the most uncomfortable reality of the 21st century. Because it turns out the most important country in the world isn't the United States, nor China, nor Russia. It's Taiwan, an island that most people can't locate on a map. And now, that accidental monopoly is about to collapse. Let me explain how we got to this breaking point. To understand this slow-motion disaster, we need to go back to 1987. That year, Morris Chang, an engineer born in China but educated in the United States, founded TSMC in Taiwan with a revolutionary idea. Instead of each tech company manufacturing its own chips, TSMC would manufacture them for everyone. It was the concept of pure foundry, a semiconductor factory that didn't compete with its clients. It simply executed the designs they sent. The idea was brilliant. Apple could design the iPhone chip without building a $20 billion factory. Nvidia could focus on artificial intelligence without worrying about manufacturing. Qualcomm, AMD, Broadcom all sent their designs to Taiwan, and TSMC turned them into reality. For 30 years, this model worked perfectly. Taiwan became indispensable. TSMC invested hundreds of billions of dollars in cutting-edge technology. While Intel stumbled and Samsung struggled to catch up, TSMC dominated 5-nanometer chip manufacturing, then 3 nanometers, and now is developing 2-nanometer nodes. Nobody else can do it. Literally. Intel tried. Failed. Samsung tries. Can't match TSMC's yields. China has invested $150 billion in its semiconductor industry, and it's still a decade behind. TSMC has the most important technological monopoly in human history. But there's a massive geopolitical problem. China never gave up its claim on Taiwan. For Beijing, Taiwan is not an independent country. It's a rebel province that must return to the fold. Xi Jinping has said it explicitly. Reunification with Taiwan is inevitable and must be achieved in this generation. The United States, on the other hand, has the Taiwan Relations Act that obliges Washington to provide defensive weapons to the island. Although technically it doesn't recognize Taiwan as an independent country, the United States has made clear that a Chinese invasion would have consequences. Result: Taiwan is trapped between two nuclear superpowers. And the entire global digital economy is trapped with it. For years, analysts called this the Silicon Shield. The theory was simple. China would never invade Taiwan because destroying TSMC factories would be economic suicide. Beijing needs those chips as much as Washington. It was the technological version of nuclear deterrence. Mutually assured destruction. But in 2024, that shield started to crack. Here's where the story gets truly dark. Because it turns out the United States and China are doing exactly the same thing, preparing for a world without TSMC in Taiwan. Let's start with Washington. In August 2022, President Biden signed the CHIPS Act, injecting $52 billion in subsidies to build semiconductor factories on American soil. TSMC received $6.6 billion to build 2 plants in Arizona. Sounds like good industrial policy, right? Except there's a disturbing detail. Those Arizona factories won't be fully operational until 2027 or 2028. And when they are, they'll only produce a fraction of what Taiwan manufactures now. But what's really revealing isn't the factories. It's the contingency plan. In September 2024, documents leaked from the Pentagon to the New York Times revealed that the U.S. Department of Defense has strategic denial protocols for Taiwan. What does that mean in human language? It means that if China invades, the United States has plans to destroy or disable TSMC factories before they fall into Chinese hands. Yes, you read that right. The United States would intentionally destroy the most critical technological infrastructure on the planet to prevent China from capturing it. And here's the truly disturbing part. TSMC is collaborating with this plan. According to Bloomberg sources, TSMC has installed remote kill switches in its most advanced machinery. Specifically, in extreme ultraviolet lithography (EUV) machines manufactured by Dutch company ASML. These machines are the heart of advanced chip manufacturing. They cost $350 million each. And only ASML knows how to make them. If China tries to use them without authorization, ASML and TSMC can remotely deactivate them. Turn them into high-tech scrap. It's a self-destruct insurance policy. But China isn't sitting around waiting either. While the United States builds factories in Arizona, China is investing obscene amounts in what they call their Big Semiconductor Fund. Between 2014 and 2024, Beijing has invested more than $150 billion in developing its own chip industry. The result? They're still behind. But they're closing the gap. In November 2024, Chinese company SMIC managed to manufacture 7-nanometer chips using unconventional techniques. They're not as advanced as TSMC's, but they work. And most importantly, they don't depend on Western technology. China is learning to live without Taiwan. And then there's the elephant in the room nobody wants to mention. What if China simply invades and captures the factories before they can be destroyed? Military analysts estimate China could launch a massive amphibious assault in a matter of hours. If they do it at night, with missile saturation over Taiwanese air defenses, they could have troops on the ground before the United States or TSMC react. And if they capture the factories intact, China would have the technological monopoly. Imagine a world where Beijing controls 92% of advanced chip production. It could demand anything. Data access, control over chip designs, backdoors in critical systems, or it could simply cut off supply to the West. And to think all this revolves around Taiwan, an island the size of Belgium that basically holds the planet hostage. If that's not the Silicon Shield, I don't know what is. But this isn't just a problem between the United States and China. It's global. And it's getting worse. Europe woke up late to this crisis. For years, European leaders assumed global trade guaranteed stability. That nobody would be crazy enough to break interdependent supply chains. Then came the pandemic. And Europe realized it couldn't manufacture chips for its own cars. Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, all German automakers had to stop production in 2021 because there were no semiconductors. The auto industry lost $210 billion that year. It was a brutal wake-up call. Now Europe is trying to build its own capacity with the European Chips Act, promising 43 billion euros in subsidies. Intel is building megafactories in Germany. TSMC is opening a plant in Dresden. The problem? They won't be ready until the end of this decade. Meanwhile, Japan also entered the game. Tokyo convinced TSMC to build a factory in Kumamoto with $7 billion in subsidies. The plant opened in February 2024. It's a step, but it's not enough either. And then there's South Korea. Samsung is TSMC's only real competitor. But even Samsung manufactures most of its advanced chips in South Korea, another country within striking distance of China. See the pattern? All advanced semiconductor production is concentrated in East Asia, in the most dangerous conflict zone on the planet. But here's what should really worry you. Chip geopolitics is no longer just about Taiwan. It's about who controls the complete supply chain. China controls 70% of global rare earth processing, essential materials for manufacturing semiconductors. It also dominates graphite, cobalt, and lithium production. The United States controls chip design through companies like NVIDIA, AMD, and Qualcomm. And it controls critical machinery through allies like ASML in the Netherlands. But nobody controls advanced manufacturing except Taiwan. And both sides know that a war over Taiwan wouldn't just be a military war. It would be a technological war. An economic war. A war for the future of artificial intelligence, autonomous cars, hypersonic weapons, and everything that depends on advanced chips. In October 2024, the United States government imposed the harshest restrictions in history on chip technology exports to China. NVIDIA can no longer sell its most advanced AI processors to Beijing. ASML can't sell EUV machines. China responded with restrictions on gallium and germanium exports, critical materials for semiconductors. It's the beginning of total technological decoupling. And Taiwan is right in the middle. Some analysts call it the new Cold War. But that's selling it short. It's a war to control the nervous system of modern civilization. And the battlefield is an island of 36,000 square kilometers. So, what do we do with all this? Honestly, there aren't many options. The United States, Europe, and Japan are desperately trying to build local manufacturing capacity. But even in the best scenario, it'll take a decade to catch up to Taiwan. China is doing the same. And it has more motivation, more money, and more urgency. Meanwhile, TSMC keeps manufacturing 92% of the world's advanced chips. From an island in a war zone. The silicon shield that supposedly protected Taiwan is cracked. Maybe it always was. And the question nobody wants to answer is, what happens if it really collapses? What happens if we wake up one day and Taiwan no longer exists as we know it? If the factories are destroyed or captured? If the chip supply is abruptly cut off? This isn't catastrophism. It's strategic planning. Because the digital world we take for granted depends on something much more fragile than we thought. So next time you update your iPhone, or charge your electric car, or use ChatGPT, remember, all of that exists because an island called Taiwan decided to be really, really good at manufacturing tiny squares of silicon. And now, two nuclear superpowers are fighting over that island. What could go wrong?